This is lesson 2.2 and 2.3 on solving one-step and multi-step equations. So from the pretest, some of you may have already understood the one-step equations, maybe not so much the one with the fraction, but we'll talk about these different levels of equations throughout this week. So solving a one-step equation, what our goal is to find the value of the variable that makes the sentence true. So last year you probably started solving some equations. We can drop down a line from the equal sign to separate it into a left and a right side because you have to keep this balanced. So what you do to one side, you do to the other. So on this first one, C is being subtracted by 22. So the inverse operation would be addition of 22. So you show that on the left and on the right, and C is equal to 76. Now you should check the answer as well. So to show the check, you go back to the original problem, C minus 22 equals 54. You replace the C with the number that you found, in this case 76, and you ask yourself, does 76 minus 22 equal 54? So actually do the math. That equals 54. So you say 54 equals 54, give it a check. But sometimes your answer might not be right and doesn't actually check, so make sure you prove it. On the second one, M, you're adding 63 to M, so now the inverse to that would be subtraction. So I showed on the left and on the right, M equals 16 on this one. And again, to check, we rewrite the original, 63 plus M equals 79. Replace the M with a 16. And ask yourself, does 63 plus 16 equal 79? In this case, it does. So 79 equals 79. It checks out. So those are one steps with addition and subtraction inverses. Now let's look at multiplication and division. So on the first one, 2/3 Q equals a half. 2/3 right next to Q means that's multiplication. So you could undo it with division, or to get rid of the fraction, you can multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to put a little note here. So the reciprocal of 2/3 would be 3/2. So I'm going to show that in a different color. So we're going to multiply this side by 3/2 and this side by 3/2. The 2's and the 3's divide out, you're left with Q. And if you go straight across, top and bottom, Q is equal to 3/4. And again, if you show the check on this one, you replace the Q with 3/4 and ask yourself, is that equal to a half? So the shortcut here, the 3's on the diagonal divide out, and you have 2 out of 4, which is the same as 1/2. So it actually does check. And on letter B, some students think the -3 by the R is to undo that would be to use the opposite sign. So they would want to add 3 to both sides, but that's not the case because this means -3 times R. So to undo multiplication, you have to use division. So we're going to split these up by dividing by a -3. So R is equal to -13 on this one. And again, one more check, 39 equals -3R. If you replace the R with a -13 and ask yourself, does that equal 39? The answer on this one is yes. So 39 equals 39. And then we have a word problem. Of the group of 13 to 15-year-old girls surveyed, 225, or about 9/20, said they talk on the phone while they watch TV. About how many girls were surveyed? So we need a variable, and we don't know how many girls, so let's let that be the variable. So let G equal number of girls. So we don't know how many girls there were, but 9/20 of G, so 9/20 of the girls was 225. So this is how we're going to set it up. And like part A here, to get rid of the fraction coefficient, you can multiply both sides by the reciprocal. So this is going to be a times 20/9. You can put the 225 over 1 if that helps you. And then G equals, so 9 divides into 225 25 times. So 25 times 20 is 500. And since it's a word problem, we're going to give it a label. So 500 girls would be the final answer here. So if you take 9/20 of 500, you should get 225. All right, so those are all the one steps. Moving on to multi-step. So this requires more than one step to solve. We must undo each operation by working backwards. So if you find the variable, ask yourself what's happening. All right. The first thing that's happening is it's multiplying by 11, and then the second thing, it's subtracting 4. So we're going to undo that. So I'm going to start by undoing the subtraction of 4, which is adding 4. So we're going to add 4 to the left and the right. And you get 11x equals 33. And then to undo the multiplication of 11, we're going to divide by 11. So in this case, x was 3. And just so we know how to check, 11 times 3 minus 4, does that actually give you 29? 11 times 3, that's 33. If you subtract 4, yeah, that's 29. All right, part B. So this one, you might not know where to start, but if you kind of follow along the U shape that I did on the other one. So here's A. The first thing that's happening to A is it's adding 7, and then it's being divided by 8. So you want to undo that process. So start with the undo of division by 8, which is multiplying by 8. So we're going to take A plus 7 over 8 equals 5. We're going to multiply the left by 8 and the right by 8. So you're going to see the 8's divide out on the left side. You're left with A plus 7. And 5 times 8 on the right is 40. Next step, to undo the addition of 7, we're going to subtract 7. So A is equal to 33 on this problem. So I'm going to use this space to check. 33 plus 7 divided by 8, does that equal 5? Well, 33 plus 7 is 40. Notice how I'm showing each step, and if I do that division, you do get 5. So that's how you show a proper check. Then we got one word problem. Hiroshi is buying a pair of water skis that are on sale for 2/3 of the original price. So that's some key things to highlight. 2/3 of the original. After he uses a $25 gift certificate, the total cost before taxes is $115. What was the original price of the skis? So this is our question. That's what we don't know. They want us to write an equation and then solve it. So first thing, define a variable. Since our unknown is the original price of the skis, I'm going to let P equal original price of skis. And then let's translate this. So 2/3 of the original price. Well, of means multiplication, and 2/3 the original price. Well, we don't know the original price. We're letting P represent that. So this looks like 2/3 of the original price, P. After he uses a gift card. So think, if you use a gift card, that's going to decrease the amount that you're paying for. So that's subtracting 25. Is in math, remember, is equals. So this equals 115. And then we need to solve it. So think, here's the variable P. The first thing that's happening is it's multiplying by 2/3. and then it's subtracting 25. So we're going to undo that process, starting with the inverse of subtracting by 25, which is adding 25. So add 25 to the left and to the right. This zeroes out. You're left with 2/3 p equals 140. And to undo the multiplication of 2/3, we're going to divide by 2/3 or multiply by the reciprocal. Okay. I like to multiply by the reciprocal, especially if I don't have a calculator handy. So this is 3/2. Can put the 140 over 1. These all divide out, so you're left with p equals. The shortcut over here is 2 goes into 140 70 times. So 7 times 3 gives you 210. And since it's a word problem, go back to the original and put a label on it. So what was the original price of the skis? You can say the original price of the skis was $210. And again, you can double check that. Put the 210 back in for P, 2/3 of 210, subtract your 25, and you should get 115 as your answer.